This was a hotel room which we stayed in Krakow. It was Novotel Krakow City West. It was actually a room specially designed for the kids, and they gave it to us, and it was quite nice. It had some books also that talked about the legendary stories connected to Krakow. Now, today morning we started after the breakfast to visit two important places in Krakow. They are very memorable because one is a concentration camp that was in Auschwitz, and the second was the famous sand mines of Krakow, which improved the prosperity of Poland. The concentration camp was really a symbol of Holocaust of the European Jews as well as the Nazi crimes against the Poles, Romas and the other groups, because Hitler never liked the Jews and because he thought that they are the reason for the misery of Germany. So he wanted to exterminate them. Also, he didn't like the homosexuals. He didn't like those who are mentally challenged and affected. And he also did not like the gypsies and Slavs. There was no reason why it was like that. He had made up his mind that these people I don't like, so they have to be killed. That is why he brought them all to the concentration camps in Poland. There were 5, 6 concentration camps, but out of which Auschwitz was the most notorious because here the people were killed in large numbers, almost 1.1 million, out of which 90% were Jewish. The other place called Treblinka, around 8 lakh to 9 lakh were killed. And in a place called Belzec, around 6 lakh people were killed. And Sobibor, 2 lakh people were killed. Like that, there were so many places, but the maximum extermination was done in Auschwitz. And there we visited that day morning, and we were accompanied by a guide from the place. And it was really a very emotional moment for us to see the place, how Hitler had killed so many people, innocent people, even small children had been killed. And we visited a lot of rooms and what are the methods he used to kill the people, about the poison gas chambers. And then we heard that those who were healthy, they were used for work, forced labor, and those who were not strong enough to work, they were all chosen to be killed. These Nazi German concentration camps that specialized in mass annihilation of unwanted persons in the conquered territories. In the camps, the victims were mostly Jews. And then it was at the Auschwitz complex was the most notorious place, as I mentioned earlier. The gas chambers could accommodate more than 2,000 at a time, and 12,000 could be gassed and incinerated each day. Able-bodied persons are used to forced labor until they were virtually worked to death, and they were hardly given good food. And in all the rooms we saw the used things of them. See the hats, the bags, the shoes, everything. They were all told that they are going to be employed, and then they came in trains, and once they got down, their things were just taken away from them and they were sent to the concentration camps. And then the group doctors of Germany, they conducted inhuman experiments on pregnant women, we read. You are seeing the board, the road of death. That is, those who were sent to the gas chambers, they were taken on this road. That is, those who are invalid and small children and women, they were all sent through this path. Every day the attendance was taken after they come back from the forced labor, and even if one person is missing, all the others were punished for that, so that there was a fear among the people they won't escape. This is a railway station scene where the Jews came from their places at the station, and then they were asked to keep their belongings at the station only. And they were asked to write their names on their luggages, and those innocent people wrote it without knowing, that is to identify who is Jew and who is what. So all those luggages are also seen there, preserved. And here's the extermination method, that is how they killed in the gas chambers. So you can see the gas chamber pictures over there. These are all very horrible to look at. And there were some rooms where there was no photography allowed because this was full of emotions. They said, you have to respect the humanity and no photograph, please. They used Zyklon B, which was a cyanide based pesticide invented in Germany in the early 1920s. It consists of hydrogen cyanide that was used to kill, and these are the cans from in which they were containing the poison. And those who were appointed to supervise them were all the ex-convicts from the German jail. So everywhere you can read the writing on your own to understand the sadistic behavior of Hitler. Auschwitz was probably chosen to play a central role in the final solution because it was located at a railway junction with 44 parallel tracks. Maybe that is the reason. And these were the living conditions of the inmates. They were just asked to lie down one upon the other on the mat, and these were the room of those supervisors who were supervising them. And you can see the toilets and other places, what kind of living conditions they lived, and everywhere it was barbed wire so that they cannot escape. This was a painting kept at the side to show the condition of those who were asked to do forced labor, how they were beaten up, how they were treated in an inhuman manner when they did their work. They were not given proper food. The morning they were given something like a coffee, and then afternoon very little food, and evening also very little food. It was barely enough for them to survive, but most of them died even in this process out of starvation. And many of the women died because of inhuman experiments, medical experiments conducted on them for infertility, etc., or for sterilization by the crook doctors of the Nazi Germany. See here you can read from the board which is there, out of sterilization experiments. Such atrocities were committed on humankind which is unforgettable, and even the walls and the rooms were reflecting sadness. Everywhere you can feel the negativity, and most of us became very emotional. That highlighted the atrocities that occurred here between 1939 to 1945. The death camp and the slave labor camp were interrelated. Those who arrived newly at the death camp were divided into a process known as selection. The young and the able-bodied were sent to work. Young children and their mothers and the old and infirm were sent directly to the gas chambers. Thousands of prisoners were also selected with the camp doctor, Joseph Mengele, for medical experiments. These Auschwitz doctors tested methods of sterilization on the prisoners using massive doses of radiation, uterine injections, and other barbaric procedures. Experiments involving the killing of twins upon whom autopsies were performed were meant to provide information that would supposedly lead to rapid expansion of the Aryan race. Subject to harsh weather conditions, inadequate shelter and sanitation, given minimal food, and worked to exhaustion, those who could no longer work faced transport back to the gas chambers. The German corporations invested heavily in the slave labor industries adjacent to Auschwitz. So this was the condition of the people in that concentration camp, which made us very, very emotional. As the Soviet armies advanced in 1944 and early 1945, on January 18, 1945, some 60,000 prisoners were marched to the Poland out of these places. They were put on freight trains and sent westward to concentration camps away from the front. 1/4 of them died on way only due to cold and exhaustion and despair. Many were shot along the way, known as the death marches. After the war, hundreds of Nazi officials were tried for war crimes in connection with the atrocities committed at Auschwitz. Many were arrested and sentenced to death by hanging. Although the Germans destroyed parts of the camp before abandoning them in 1945, much of Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II remain intact. And now we are able to see them as a museum and a memorial. And this memorial was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979, and the name was changed into Nazi German Concentration and Extermination Camp in 2007. And these were the flowers kept by some of the Jewish tourists who came there on that day. And some of them are also doing volunteering work of cleaning the campus. So, on the whole, it was a very emotional moment for us on that day in the morning. We went from room to room, but only felt the sadness that prevailed there. See the shoes and the bags, and then with the names written on them. Even so many years have passed by, still we are not able to forget the atrocities committed by the sadistic person named Hitler. We only wish and pray that such incidents should never reoccur in the world history. You can see the size of the iron roller over there to move the garden, and they were asked to drag these things with no strength in their body. These are some of the boards from which we can understand the inhuman practices that prevailed in that place. You can see the name with a number on his shirt, and they were all called by numbers and not by name. We can see the small children too taken to the concentration camps without any mercy on them. And this board tells us about the hanging of the people if they try to escape, and their relatives were also hanged. They were also sleep on straw, and also they had to walk on the other people if they have to go out. The above picture shows that. And this board tells us about the action of the doctors who conducted experiments that ended in permanent death or disability. And the room what you are seeing is supposed to be the doctor's room. And here it talks about how they were killed by the poisonous gas or they were hanged. People who tried to escape were killed by electric shock, as these wires, barbed wires, were all having electricity in them. This was a place from where the attendance was taken off after the labor. This also shows the electric barbed wires so that the prisoners cannot escape. Those who tried to escape, they were brought back and they were punished very severely in front of others, so that it was like a threat, and some of them are hanged in front of the other. This was a place from where they were hanged, those who tried to escape. And this is a power gas chamber and crematorium. After they were dead, after the passing of the poisonous gas, they were cremated. They were asked to take bath and they were naked, it seems, before they were killed. These are all the outlets of the crematorium, what you are watching above. These bags which they brought, they are all preserved in one room. It's very sad to look at them. And these are the photos of the complex. And everything is preserved as it was at that time when they were living. And this photo above shows people getting off the train from various countries in groups, and when they got on only they came to know. And this photo shows how they were cremated, and you can see the fumes above. They were all cremated in big groups after they were killed by the poisonous gas, and then that is the photo which shows the fumes which came out of the crematorium. On the whole building and the atmosphere was reflecting the sadness and the suffering and the atrocities committed at that place. You could look at the gate, even that is kept upside down. That shows that everything was abnormal here because of one person who wanted to commit atrocities on humanity. And she was our tour guide who explained everything very well to us. After the tour, we all felt very sad and very emotional about the people who suffered under the hands of the Nazi Germany people. And thanks for watching my video, and let us meet in the next video of mine.